I'm Gavin, and welcome to MLS Fantasy Picks. Welcome to our Round 3 video. Today I'll be going through a quick recap of the last round, anything that we learned from an MLS Fantasy standpoint, key considerations for Round 3, looking at some of those key matchups and game times, and then of course our player picks and tiers. So taking a look at last round, I got 70 points, so not awesome, but not awful at the same time. I had a weak rank of about 1,181, and my overall rank now sits at 526. Total score of 141 for the season. So looking at how the team did for the week, a lot of flops on the bench. I was really trying to get ahead with those early games, the Seattle Real Salt Lake game, and then the Atlanta and Charlotte game. Latte Loth looked great round 1, but round 2 was a bit of a flop. Same for Edwards. Was hoping for something, but got me a 2. Doesn't matter because he's 4.0 anyways. And then John Bell, I was just looking up to free up some cash. Seattle's or Real Salt Lake's offense isn't looking too hot, so I thought why not throw a cheap Seattle defender in there, see if he gets me a clean sheet, and he got me 1 point, so not great. So yeah, didn't start off too strong with my switcheroos there, but luckily I had some hits on the field. Valencia, he's looking good at the Red Bull with the defense standpoint. Only 5.0 and 9 points there. And then Ricketts for San Jose, they were playing Sporting Kansas City, who weren't looking great, so I thought it was worth a shot on the field. Mainly kept him just to get that price rise, so he ended up getting me a 2, so not great. And then luckily Santos as well, LAFC, got the clean sheet. Rusnak, good floor with the 5, but still no goal contribution, so decent. Lucky that Ojeda got that goal, ended up getting me a 7 with the captain, so moving that up to 14. Pasalic was a bit disappointing, getting me only a 2. Looks like he may be kind of goal dependent, at least after the first couple of weeks. Dreyer also still looking great, got me a 6, no goal contributions. And then Ryan Gauld with the 3, pretty upsetting on that one. Yeboah did great, got me 11, and then Buwanga with a 3. So yeah, look to improve next week. Also, I forgot last week, but I'll look to give a shout out to our different MLS Fantasy Picks leagues. So looking at the Open League, top 5 right now, we got Messi Golden Boot 2025 with 167, Raquinho FC with 166, Kosh, I don't know how to pronounce that one, but 162, Sabi Time with 161, and then Clover Street Ultras with 159. So well done to the top 5. Still pretty close, early on in the season, anything can happen. And for our head-to-head league, you'll see some very similar names. You've got your Aquino, the other name I couldn't pronounce, Sabi Time, Clover Street Ultras, and Bridge the Gap. So let's see how many folks we've got undefeated currently. Going all the way down to 52. 52 folks, undefeated. Well done, everyone. Out of our, I think we maxed out this league with 200. Yeah. So yeah, still anyone's league. It's early on in the season, so yeah, stay with it, and good luck next week. Okay, so now a quick review of MLS Fantasy learnings from last week. So this is just from the official MLS site, as the fantasy site's looking at round 3. So looking at Charlotte and Atlanta, 2-1 victory. I feel like Charlotte is still looking strong at home. So I want to keep an eye on defense, once I've at least got some more money in the bank rest of the season. So this RSL game seemed like a bit of a fluke to me. I think Seattle had some good chances. They had some mess-ups in the back. So yeah, Seattle's still rotating with CCC, and I'm still not really impressed with RSL. I think there was an own goal and then a good breakaway by Ajago there. So yeah, we'll keep an eye on them, but a bit of a fluke game for me. New England Columbus. New England's still really not clicking yet. We'll keep an eye on them, but Columbus with the victory, still holding strong even with CONCACAF. And then this Red Bull Nashville game sort of ended how we expected. Red Bull looked good, some great goals. Keep an eye out for Valencia for defense. I still feel like Nashville's yet to click. Hani isn't the fantasy superstar we used to know. And Orlando versus Toronto, like I said it before, Ojeda saved us with a goal there. And Bernadeschi is really only the Toronto play you want to look for currently. Philadelphia, Cincinnati. So Philly is definitely a new team this year, saying that as a Union fan, I've been watching each game in full. So yeah, they look great. New formation. The top 3 are really clicking, so I feel like Gazdag, we used to be quite goal dependent, but he's really creating a lot up top there with Baribo, Sullivan, everyone really. So yeah, keep an eye on Philly. And Cincinnati, I think they were probably, I mean, they didn't do much that game. Probably prepping for CONCACAF. Chicago, DC, with these teams, expect goals. Benteke looks great. Kuipers got a couple goals, but they were more of a poacher type of goal. So we're really still not looking at Kuipers that much, more of a boomer bust type of striker. And SKC versus San Jose, still not really looking at any SKC players. San Jose, Chicho got his goal. Espinoza, though, really didn't get involved. Minnesota still holding strong defensively, and maybe we can start to target teams against Montreal. They really haven't put up much yet so far this season. And yeah, Yeboah is looking great. Colorado, Dallas. So yeah, Mihailovic, always a good look and not too expensive. Rafael Navajo also looked awesome. Musa is quite expensive though, so I don't know how much you want to put out for him, but Acosta isn't too expensive and looking good for Dallas. LAFC still holding strong defensively. Need to see a bit more from NYC before I start selecting any players from there. Portland looked good. I think David Costa could be a good pick as well. Austin, I want to see more of. San Diego, again, defensively looking good. St. Louis really still haven't clicked this season. Vancouver, definitely a team that we're looking at from a fantasy standpoint this year, even with CONCACAF going on, so keep an eye out for them. And the Galaxy, still struggling. In this last game, Suarez absolutely popped off, even without Messi. And I feel like Houston, McGlynn, he had some decent, like a floor of 4, I think, this year or last week. So yeah, keep an eye out for them. All right, so looking at key considerations for the round. So as I said before, CONCACAF is still going strong. We've got 7 MLS teams competing. So we've got Cincinnati at home on Tuesday, LAFC at home on Tuesday, Columbus away Tuesday, Galaxy away Wednesday, Seattle home Wednesday, Vancouver home Wednesday, and Miami home on Thursday. So a lot of teams throughout the week. Keep an eye on lineups. They will most likely impact, how these teams will play in the regular season games this weekend. So keep that in mind as you set your lineups this week. You most likely see a rotation, and these are some of our top teams from a fantasy standpoint. So yeah, you'll have to choose wisely this week. Again, no teams on bye. Injuries and suspensions. There were a few last week, not really any huge fantasy players, but keep an eye out when MLS releases those reports before games start this weekend. So something new this week, I just want to take a quick look at our prime matchups and game times to target for a fantasy standpoint. So the MLS has a bit of a new schedule this year. So Saturday we've got an early game, sort of a mid-afternoon game, then our evening slate as usual. And then we've also got a late afternoon Sunday game and then Sunday night soccer. So with all these different game times, it really opens up our opportunities with the switcheroo. And, I've got a lot of comments the past couple of weeks around player picks, which is obviously super important, but I definitely want to stress the importance of the switcheroo, keeperoo, and autoroo as well. So I've got links to those videos. I created some how-tos in my YouTube channel. So go give those a watch. If you aren't using these tactics yet, it really helps you get the highest points in MLS Fantasy. So definitely start trying it out. It only gets better as you practice. So yeah, looking at our different game times, I feel like we've got some good switcheroo options with Columbus and the Dynamo. Depending on how lineups look for the Crew, could be some good targets to put on your bench. Same for 445. I'm expecting rotation from both teams here. So this will definitely be sort of a game time decision. Who's looking like the better squad? Who's rotated more? Or will it be, a snooze fest 0-0? We'll have to wait and see. This 7:30 slate of games, I'm kind of hesitant on Atlanta. Cincinnati depends on lineups as well with CC, with the CONCACAF Champions League. DC, I do like against Sporting Kansas City. I definitely see goals in this matchup. New England, like I said, aren't looking great, and Philly are. So again, even though they're away, I do like this squad. Moving on to the 8:30 games, I like Colorado at Austin. There could be some goals on both sides here potentially. Same for Dallas and Chicago. I see goals both sides here as well. Chicago not looking great defensively, but creating a lot. FC Dallas the same. I like Acosta here. I'll go into player picks, of course, later. And let's see, what else do we have? I really am not a huge fan of this Nashville-Portland game. 9:30 slate, interesting timing here, but I do like San Diego against a not so strong Real Salt Lake team. The Whitecaps, of course, depending on how lineups look here. Miami, I'm expecting rotation, especially with that late CONCACAF game. And yeah, I'm not sure I want to have anyone from this. These teams both aren't looking great to start the season. Maybe it'll be a goal fest. We'll have to wait and see. All right, getting started with our player picks, our premium goalkeepers. So honestly, right now, goalkeepers are quite expensive, so it is tough to do a lot of keeperoos. I do like Berkey on the back end if you want to go with anyone in those early slated games or on Saturday, basically. They're playing at the Galaxy, how I've struggled, and St. Louis have honestly kept a clean sheet, I think, in both of their games. So we'll see what that looks like on Sunday. Bit expensive. I do like Dos Santos a bit more as they're playing RSL, and he's currently at $7 million. So as I said before, goalkeepers are quite expensive now, but you don't really have to break your budget. Schulte right now is only 6.7. Columbus is against Houston. Early game of the week. Throw him on your bench, see what he gets. But there's also Pantomis from Portland. I like him because they're playing Nashville, and like I said before, Nashville is not looking too strong offensively. And finishing off with our budget goalkeepers, good old Ustari, 4.0. Still only averaging about 2 points a game, but late game, he's an option. He's starting. I also have Mikovic from LA Galaxy. They're playing St. Louis. Like I said before, is it a goal fest? Is it 0-0? Who knows? But he's only 5.6 currently and starting for the Galaxy. Not the best option, but something if you need him. Moving right along to our premium defenders. So defenders this week, I do like Kai Wagner. Philly really haven't been keeping clean sheets, but he's still very attack-minded, getting assists on set pieces and against New England. Quite pricey, but if you have the budget, go for it. I put Moreira here, but really any of the Columbus defenders. So maybe they will actually, rotate defensively, and you could get a bit of a cheaper option. But right now, a lot of the starters are quite expensive, so I just wanted to call out I like that matchup. And then same thing for San Diego, Patty McNair, 7.5, so a bit expensive, but playing RSL. And then Hollingshead could be another good bench play if you have the money, also depending on what lineups look like for both teams. But he can score randomly off of set pieces, and LAFC have been pretty sound defensively. And moving on to our standard price defenders. So I do like our Vancouver defense this week against Montreal. I've called out Veselinovic, but any Vancouver defender you at least see getting 60 minutes against Montreal. So keep an eye out on that rotation. I have Santos here, but again, like I called out for Hollingshead, it's just a cheaper version of an LAFC defender. Keep an eye out on lineups. And then you'll notice as well, another San Diego player, but a bit cheaper, Franco Negri. He's only 6.5, but still that San Diego player against RSL. Now looking at our budget defenders. So I feel like for my approach, I'm going to try to use as many budget defenders as possible. Again, that Dollar Tree defense, that drop in points has called out for this season. Few good options here. So Ricketts, if he's still starting, 5.0 against Minnesota at home. I'm calling out Macania. Obviously his points aren't great, 1.5, but he is starting. If he continues to start, it could be a good matchup against New England. You could throw him on your bench, see if he gets you the clean sheet. Valencia, pretty much a must start. I know they're away at Atlanta, but he's playing sort of that wing back position. He even got an assist last week. So yeah, keep a look at him. Keep your eyes on him. And then Freeman. So Freeman up against NYC. See if he still gets the start. 4.3. He got a goal last week, which was quite exciting to see. And then last recommendation, still Matthew Edwards. See if he continues to start. Not too impressive, but if you need that 4.0 starter, it could be a good option for you. And moving on to our premium midfielders. So you got Gauld, of course, Vancouver against Montreal. Great matchup. Keep an eye out on lineups. Say that a lot. These are great teams. They're all in CONCACAF. Great fantasy players, but we have to keep an eye on that rotation. Rusnak as well has a great floor against, and he's playing LAFC. We'll see if he starts. Evander as well, a CONCACAF Champions League team. Though he has looked good, he scored a goal against Philly, just pretty much all by himself. and they're at home against Toronto, so it's a great matchup, but we'll see how rotated and different this Cincinnati team looks. Speaking of Toronto, Bernadeschi. So yeah, if Cincinnati isn't looking too strong because they're resting up, maybe you look at Bernadeschi. He's got an average of 8. He's creating. He's basically all Toronto has. Not really, but their main, playmaker. So keep an eye out for those guys. And moving on to our standard midfielders. So this is probably will be my approach. I don't know if I'm going to drop that much cash on a premium midi. But yeah, this week I like Gosdog. As I said, he's getting a lot more involved with creating this year up against New England. I like that matchup. You've also got Dreyer, a good floor, and against an RSL squad who is not looking too strong. Acosta from Dallas, so he's clicking a bit more with this new squad. Could be a good look at only 8.6, quite a bargain for someone who's known to be one of the best fantasy players. And then DaCosta from Portland, so I feel like he is sort of, the Evander replacement for Portland. They're playing Nashville, who led in 2 against Red Bull last week. Again, I'm calling out a good amount of away players here, but the matchups, you're trying to look at those teams that aren't necessarily involved in CONCACAF and those key players. Again, another away player, I've got Gutierrez. So we missed him last week. I was looking to pick him up, but he got his suspension. I think that should be over for this game. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but I do like that matchup against Dallas. And not going to take too much time here for budget midfielders. I think you should spend your money on some decent standard price middies this week. I only have Jaden Nelson against Montreal. I feel like it's a great matchup. So yeah, spend your money on your midfielders. I don't really see not too many good starters that are attacking midfielders. Once you go past a certain price point, it's a lot of those defensive middies who you don't want for fantasy. But yeah, let me know if you have any good cheap midfielders in the comments. Taking a look at our premium forwards. So I've got Messi, of course. Though I don't think I'll be looking at him this week, just with CONCACAF continuing. I feel like that's where Miami's focus is currently. They have enough depth to continue to compete in the regular season without their stars. So I'm not really looking at Messi to free up a bit of budget this week. And Peter Musa, quite expensive, but I do see a lot of goals in this matchup. So if you have the money, could be a good look. And I do like Benteke definitely at home against SKC. It's a good matchup, and Benteke has already had a strong start to the season. Moving on to our standard priced forwards this week. Latte Lath, he looked great, not last week necessarily, but against the Red Bull, I feel like it could be a good matchup. Yeah, he's an awesome player. Moving on to Baribo. Ty the Tank Baribo for Philly got a hat trick last week, and he is playing the Revolution. We're not looking too strong. So yeah, as I said, Philly looks like a new team this year. I'll definitely be picking up Baribo as he's not too expensive and in a good bit of form. And then finally, I've got Navajo here as well against Austin. Even though Colorado led in a good amount of goals, they've been scoring as well. And him and Mihailovic are always looking to link up. And another forward that I've got called out but not displayed here is Russell Rowe from the Crew. So it could be a good spot to put on your bench depending how lineups look. Looking at our budget forwards, I've got Tani Oluwaseyi from Minnesota, so only 7 mil, and I believe he's starting. So decent option. Minnesota's got a good matchup against San Jose this week away. I do like Merle as well from DC. So Merle had quite a nice bicycle kick last week, and he just looks like a great striker. He's only 6.1 million. I don't think he started last week though, so keep an eye out on lineups. But I do like that matchup, so if he is starting, could be a good play. And I did also call out Forster Jago last week, so it is fun to see him get that goal. Not necessarily someone that I'm looking at, but if you have 5 million and you need to put in a striker, could be a good option for you. And finishing up our captains for the week, I've got Gold, Messi if he plays, and Dreyer. So Gold as well, if he's starting for Vancouver, it's a great matchup against Montreal. Messi if he's starting because he's Messi. And Dreyer has a good floor, and I look for those middies with a good floor. He is away, so I'm a bit hesitant to captain an away player, but they are playing Real Salt Lake. So we'll see what lineups look like. But yeah, could be quite a range of captains this week due to CONCACAF rotation. All right, so that wraps it up for me this week. Good luck, everyone, as always. Hope you had a very good round 2. Let me know the points that you got in the comments below, and best of luck for round 3. Going to be a fun one. Thanks all.